we will have this for those who cannot attend. I hope you had a good 2 weeks. And some of you hopefully had a chance to do some of your homework in terms of experimenting with some of the tools and the prompt engineering and the things that we discussed in our last session. And I hope that you're beginning to kind of get your feet wet, if you haven't already, on sort of how some of these tools might be beneficial to your work as a academic. And so what we're going to do today is going to dive a little specifically into how these tools can be beneficial to your teaching. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, are you able to see? Yeah, I think I should come through right now.
Looks good.
So just as a review of sort of our time together. So last week we kind of gave you an overview of what I've lost sight of my screen here. 1 second. Trying to manage all the different screens going on here. So last week we kind of did a very broad coverage of sort of the tool and what it is and the different models and prompt engineering and then the issues of citation. This time we're going to dive into the specifics of sort of the AI use in the classroom, because I know that's been a topic of discussion for quite a few people at APU and many places. We also will talk a little bit about assignment makeover. We did a separate webinar on this, and I'll put a link to it afterwards in our post email to kind of, if you want to watch that. Karen Lang and I did a session about a month ago on sort of the assignment makeover that I think some of you might have attended. And that kind of dives a little deeper into sort of how do you take what you have currently to make it a little more AI proof and hopefully leverage some of the AI capabilities at the same time, not letting students sort of get lazy and not do the work. So let's see. And then today we're going to cover a couple of tools on things you can use to create content, including a quiz bot, which I was playing with that last night. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's amazing. I uploaded an article and I said, create 5 multiple choice questions, and it just did it in like 30 seconds. I was just blown away. I mean, I feel like, when I create my quizzes, it just takes forever. But now with this tool, it literally will do a lot of that work for you. And then finally, we'll talk about sort of grading and assessment and some of the sort of ethics around that. So let me kind of maybe, hold on 1 second. I need to turn off the background music here. I have some of this going on. Let me, maybe I'll stop sharing and just kind of give us a moment to trace, this is one of the learning techniques before you start a new class and a new topic. You let a chance for the learners to kind of regurgitate what they still remember from the last session. So if you can, in the chat, just put in a couple of things that were kind of you learned from last time or that you actually applied. It doesn't have to be anything profound. It can be just as simple as I created an account for the first time with this tool or whatever it is. So just take maybe a minute or so and put in the chat something that you did since our last meeting. Again, no shame in this. It's not about whether or not you did your homework. It's just a matter of like trying to see where people are at in terms of their journey, their learning journey. So if you take a 60 seconds and put in something in the prompt about what you learned or what you did or how you kind of progressed since the last time we met, that would be helpful. All right, Christina, I'm glad you played with ChatGPT and Miro. Okay. Prompt engineering. Thank you, Lynn. Janet. Yeah, Janet made the commitment to purchase. So that's good. That's a big step. Okay, Brianna, I hope you like Claude too, as much as I have. I think I actually use it more than I use GPT
Yeah.
now.
It's
Um,
really great at making tables.
oh,
It's and I love the fact that you can just upload a file for an article. So it's a lot. Now I'm assuming that ChatGPT 4 it can do that, but
yes,
I haven't bit the bullet on anything to pay for anything yet. So
yes. Yeah, I haven't either.
free options first.
Okay. All right, Rick, practicing, okay, doing your prompting, that's good. Um, yeah, and I hope it's solving the math geometry problems for your kids, Rick.
I can show
Is
how to use it. It's just Dad
okay.
here got stuck, so
Okay.
I had to help.
Yeah. Lisa utilize and prompt. Okay. BJ, open an account. Okay, I'm glad you started an account. Did you do more than just open an account, BJ? I'm just wondering.
Just right on the chat. I just put it in right now.
Okay, I see. All right. And what do you think of that option to upload document in Claude? Did you?
Yeah, it was helpful. I think Chat GBT, if for the shorter, like if it's just about 1,000 words or less or something like that, it's probably easier through chat because it doesn't seem to have any limitation, as far as I know, of asking more and more questions regarding whatever I upload. But I have to cut and paste that though.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Okay. All right. And then let's see, Brianna made a new simulation assignment. I'm glad. And that's actually going to be some of the things that we'll have some time today for you to practice. We will do a better job today to finish by hopefully in our presentation part by like 11, so that you'll have at least a full half an hour or so to work in the small group. And then, because I know that was something that we didn't have as much time last time. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing sort of some of the learnings and some of the applications, because this is meant to be very hands-on. So I hope that you will continue to take everything that we've been doing and then just slowly apply some of this into your work flow and allow you to kind of practice. Okay, so today in our session, we will here are the questions that we will address. And the first part is really, I think, some of the more meaty stuff. I have very recent research on this, as recent as like yesterday, an article that was just published yesterday on this. And it just, I think, very, very eye-opening. And then we'll deal with the AI policies and then some of the other things I discussed. So let's kind of dive into this. All right, so why is it so disruptive? And some of this you might have heard in other places or in previous meetings, but I think it's important to kind of reiterate. So the AI capability is constantly being improved to a point where its capability is exceeding a lot of human performance in a lot of areas. So let me see if I can find my little pointer here, and I can kind of walk through a bit of, okay, so there. So this line here, if you can see, represents human performance, meaning the average human being, what they're capable of doing. And then you can see here, like in terms of the different color lines are what the AI can do for specific models. So this particular, I don't know, reddish model, it does handwrite recognition. And you can see in the 90s, it just wasn't a thing. And then, but it started, making progress over time. And now it is comparable to human beings and able to decipher handwriting. And then the next line here is, it's kind of a greenish model, is speech recognition. You can see here, it started in the late 90s, and then over time, it's now at parity with humans in terms of being able to understand, like if you say something, the computer can actually make out what you're saying. And then you can see the next thing here is image recognition, the ability to upload a photo and it will tell you what that photo is, like is it a picture of a dog or a cat or whatever, and to differentiate those things. That also has exceeded, that has exceeded human capability. This is what's built a lot of the autonomous driving vehicle technology is this technology. I mean, it's able to literally scan everything in the environment and constantly identify what it is so that it can kind of maneuver the vehicle. And then you can also see things like reading comprehension and language understanding. I mean, these are just going to keep growing over time. So this is, a quick one image picture of how quickly AI capabilities have been progressing. This is another graph here showing the standardized exams that ChatGPT-4 in particular is able to do. So the blue is the version 3.5, which is the free version. No, it does things. It was doing okay in terms of the ACT and some of the AP classes, but then the green is the leveling up of the technology to version 4, and once version 4 was implemented, it is now able to do like exceedingly well in most standardized tests, including the bar exam. This is the test that students take to become a lawyer, the LSAT, the GRE for grad school. I mean, you can see across the board. I mean, there's many of these things. So again, another graph where it just shows the amazing capabilities of AI and its ability to progress over many things. I didn't have a chance to grab the screenshot on this, but about maybe 2 months ago, there was an article written about MIT degrees in computer science, in computer programming, and I forget one other. It's a STEM major. GPT-4 was able to not just pass the course, but do the entire degree, which is
that's kind of scary.
It's like so the title of the article I read was something about GPT aces MIT or something like that. And of course, no, MIT didn't like this, and they wrote an article, and the students pushed back, and they're now like pushing, they're questioning the results of the study, and there's a lot of politics and things going on with that. But the basic point is GPT now can literally do all the major. So what the study did was they took all the major exams of these courses within the degree, and they just put it through the AI, and the AI was able to pass at least a passing grade. And so collectively, it was able to complete the whole degree. So
Mike, it's interesting to look at the GREs, because it's interesting to look at the quantitative and verbal, which would kind of correspond with what you're talking about related to speech and quantitative. But if you look at the writing, it's 54th, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yes, you're saying right here? Yeah. Are you talking about this one here? Yeah, right. The 4 out of 6. Yeah, right. It's still like humans. We can do as well.
Yeah. Well, we can do a lot better actually than that. So
yeah. In terms of impact on the labor market, this is a study that was issued by OpenAI, which is the company that created GPT, and UPenn and other researchers, and they found that this technology is going to impact 80% of the workforce, and at least 10% will be sort of dramatically. 80% of the workforce could have at least 10%, of their work impacted, and then 19% of workers may see at least 50% of that. So there's about very small group will see a dramatic, and most of us will see some changes with this technology. So this is the newest article I just found. It was published 2 days ago, and this talks about this jagged frontier of AI capability. So let me kind of explain a little bit how to read this, and there's a link to the article if you want to read more. So the dotted line here represents the frontier, if you will, of technology, AI technology. Everything inside the frontier is what is it can do very well. And I'll get to a next one of what it can do well. And then everything outside the frontier are things that it's not able to do as well as humans. But what the article is saying is that this AI technology frontier is not as cleanly, and how normally we see it, think of frontier as like a clean, like a sphere arc kind of look, a shape. But in reality, its capabilities are very jagged, and that's why you see this kind of blue line. Some things it's able to do really, really well, and others like, oh, it just doesn't, and then it's not. So it's not this clean arc shape. And so this study looked at 758 consultants from Boston Consulting Group. So this is one of those like global management consulting firm. I mean, these consultants are literally like very smart people. They need to analyze everything in every industry. And so what they did is they took 758 of them and they divided them up into different groups, some using AI, some not using AI, and some using a mix. And then they gave them a series of very realistic, complex, and in sort of knowledge intensive tasks, and say like how did they do? How did each one do based on what they were able to use or not use? And so this here is sort of the a little more detail about inside the frontier. So when it's inside the frontier, things like generating basic ideas based on existing content, like what we've been doing with prompting. I mean, it's able to do that very well. I mean, like a quick question about something, it's able to analyze, summarize. So these are kind of the things that it does very well. But once you go outside the boundary, the frontier, decision making, complex task, emotional understanding, ethical. I mean, it just failed miserably. These consultants trying to, when they were faced with ethical decisions, and they were the people using it tried to put that in, and the result they got, it was just bad. So again, this is a very, very important study that's kind of documenting the frontier and sort of how it's changing what we do. So these are specific data, the findings from the report. So for the 18 tasks that these consultants were assigned using the GPT, it those who were able to use it outperform those who did not by a lot. Like when it's inside the frontier, using this tool, it will surpass any human performance, like across the board. You can see, the consultants using AI finished tasks faster. They completed more tasks, and they did it with better results. I mean, it's just if you think about it, wow, that's amazing. I mean, just using this tool was across many kind of measurements, it was able to do better. And then the last point here is AI helps workers at all levels. So you can see here, those who are.
So sorry to interrupt, Mike. There's a question related to that. So these have been checked for accuracy, I'm assuming, right? So people had gone through that and checked for accuracy related to this middle comment here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So on the right side, the chart here, you can see here, the bottom half of so if they divided their skill of these consultants, those at the bottom half of the skill level saw a dramatic increase in their ability using this tool. Like it was a 4.5 to a 5. So it was a 43% increase in their ability to complete these tasks. Meaning those with less skills are able to actually do more with this. Whereas those in the top half, you can see a minor gain. It's like about 17%. I mean, it's still a little gain, but it's diminished compared to those at the bottom. So it's very, very interesting. You can see this tool, like I said, it helps people at all levels, especially those at sort of the bottom lower half. In terms of the outside of the frontier, this is interesting. For tasks outside the frontier, consultants using GPT perform worse compared to those who didn't use it at all. Consultants using AI completed only 60% of tasks correctly compared to 84% who did not. So you can see adding an overview. So let me kind of give you the explanation for the chart here on the right. So the control group basically are the ones that didn't use the tool. They just did it with their normal old traditional human brain, human intelligence. They were able to score the highest in these outside the frontier tasks. Those who used the GPT, they did worse. They only got about 60% of correct. And then those who use the GPT and what they call an overview session. Overview session basically is they would use it and they would have the result, and then they would actually interrogate the result. Like, are these results actually the right things? And they kind of talk that through. They didn't just take it wholesale, say, okay, whatever GPT spit out, that's my answer. They actually did some additional work, and that's where you can see the additional gain. But it still wasn't as good as the the control group where they just use, especially with things like emotion, like a lot of consultants, like they're working with not only with policies, but they're also dealing with what they call soft power.
Yeah.
And that's where these other things come out. Yeah, Brianna.
Sorry, quick question. So I know a lot of times when I'm using AI, sometimes I'll use it and use 80% of what it creates because it's really good. And sometimes I use it and I'm like, I don't really like it, but it sparks an idea. And then I go off on my own and kind of build from it. For this particular study, are you saying that they used everything that GPT created and that's the product, or was it a part of their process?
So the study, I believe, was those who were assigned to use the AI just used the AI as the final result. So whatever they got was what they submitted.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a very stringent study, so that they wanted to see like what the impact of this tool is versus. So this is why they had that green, that the AI plus the overview is the mix.
So for the overview, did it allow a certain amount of modification of the content? Were there limits to that?
Yeah, I didn't see any details in the study on this. I think they just explained that the AI results were further interrogated, meaning they didn't accept it at face value. They said, these are good results, but let's double check to see if these are the best ones. And then, so I think what you're describing there is when you just generate the AI results, it may lock you in to a certain pathway of thinking. And that's why sometimes, well, this is why the results here, I think if you just use the AI, even with the interrogation of the result, you can only get so far because you've already been locked into a certain way of thinking or a certain pathway of logic or rationale. And that's why people who didn't use it actually had a bigger, broader approach to the answering whatever these outside the frontier questions or tasks.
It gets into more of the visioning pieces and sort of, other larger things as opposed to some specifics. I think in that 84.5%, I think is what you're seeing potentially related to, as you said, emotional intelligence, ethics, visioning, those kinds of things.
Yeah. So, all right. So I hope that was kind of interesting and insightful for you. I mean, I found it. I mean, I encourage you to read it. Again, once after the session, we'll send it out, and then you can click on it and get more. So here's the my interpretation of the typical faculty task, and what's inside and what's outside the frontier, and what's the role of AI. And I really tried hard to say, okay, is there any category of the things that a typical faculty does that is considered completely outside, that there's no role for the AI? And I really couldn't think of one. Maybe even faith integration nowadays, it can do some of that. But so I just kind of put check marks on both, because of what I'm kind of my proposition here is that AI is going to be very influential in every aspect of a faculty's job and role. And there is no area in a faculty's life that isn't going to be touched by this technology. Next time we meet, I'm actually going to talk about this idea of the benefits and the harms of it, like, what are sort of the gains versus what's the loss, and how do you evaluate the summative benefit of these things. And so, but I don't know, any feedback on this? Like, did anybody disagree with me that certain tasks cannot be done by AI, period, and we don't want to do that? Yes, Janet.
I'm taking that Coursera course on AI prompt engineering, and that was in the first one of our sessions. Someone had recommended it. I think it was in this meeting. But the points you brought up, that this idea of was the prompt reviewed and evaluated, in that course they're saying when you use AI, and this is really critical point to notice when we're talking about research on comparing the use of AI. They said using AI takes 3 times as long. Properly use of AI in the initial phases can take 3 times as long as doing it yourself the way you're used to doing it, because you're supposed to take many iterations of prompting and reviewing, testing that prompt, comparing it to actual literature and correctness, then revising your prompt, putting it back in. And so by the time you've done it 3 or 4 times and then taking it out into the field and trying it out and bringing it back, it takes a really informed process to use it properly.
Yes.
So I think that this article is very important if the caveat is stated. This research article is for those who just use one prompt and the output. It's not going to give you a good result.
Yeah.
But if you use it and learn how to properly interpret the results and refine the results, then I think they'd probably have a different outcome. So that's just my take on it from having that training.
No, that's a good point. That the iterative process of using the AI is what will get you the quality results, not just the one-shot deal. I think, and I think over time, we hopefully all will kind of develop that skill set to how do you keep going after you get your results and refine it. So, can AI do critical thinking?
Right. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
was that a question?
Yeah, that was a
No,
question.
I was just going to ask, agree with Janet related to conduct of research, because I think it falls frequently into the creativity piece. And so it kinds of what you ask and how you put things together and what might be an idea. And so I think that is more limited in terms of AI. And I could see why it would take longer in terms of the iterative process. But I think that it's maybe helpful. But when you're originally putting things together, I think it can be challenging because it is a creative process, and that's something that AI is not as good at. So
yeah, Jeanette has a question. Do you want to explain a little more about your question?
That's
I was wondering if at the clinical, with patients and presented with case scenarios, this and that happening, can IA do critical thinking and come up with good decision making?
I think if prompted correctly, it can. I think this is where I've actually seen some studies on healthcare using AI, like diagnosing and things like that, where it actually does a fairly decent job, the initial diagnosis. And then it also, again, like in some fields like radiology, I mean, it literally can scan thousands of scans in like seconds, and it can tell you sort of like, here are the 5 out of the 1,000 that we need a second look from a real radiologist to verify. So it's able to pick up patterns, things like that. And then if you enter, like, you can try this yourself, like in GPT, just give a couple of symptoms and say, what do you, if a patient comes in and complaining about these 3 things, what does a patient, what are some of the potential diagnoses? It's able to do that. Again, certain things it's able to do very well, but others, I mean, it just depends on the prompting and also the training data behind it, how well it's able to do. So
thank you.
Okay, I'm going to keep moving because I want to make sure we get to, I promised to give enough time for everyone to sort of do the exercise on their own. All right, so these are kind of APU plagiarism policies that I want to kind of just bring to your attention, and really, you can, I hope you're hearing this from your chair and your dean. And then I pushed out something, I think a week ago, on the AI policies and so on. So the revised academic plagiarism, so academic integrity policy, it has integrated the AI language. And here is sort of the key pieces of it, and you can read it in detail if you want. Basically, the default is that students are gonna be looking to you as a faculty, whether or not you give permission or not to use these tools in your classroom. So really, the whole policy is revised and puts the ownership on the faculty in terms of whether or not they allow it in their class or not. So make sure you are clear with your students. And this is the next slide here is, If you do not have a AI classroom use policy at the moment, strongly recommend you have one like soon. And it's okay. It's better sooner than it's better late than never. Like even as of last Friday, I was working with a social work faculty, and there were like four essays that had over like 80% AI detection. 4 different students submitting 4 different essays with really high AI writing detected. And that faculty didn't have a policy in place. And so that in some ways is fair game, because if you don't say anything to your students, then the students will assume that, oh, sure, I can use this because you haven't said anything about it. And so I, again, very, very strongly recommend you adopt a policy at the, again, it's better late than never. It's already, 3 weeks into the term. Do it now, because it will ease a lot of the pain and the questions and things like that later on. So the suggested, the 3 options that we provided is no AI use, partial AI use, and full AI use. And you can then, we have suggested language in the document, and then you can modify the language based on what you're comfortable with in your class. And if you have examples of things that you've written that you want to share with the community, just email that to me and I'll add it to I've started a document sort of collecting community statements from different faculty and different departments. So, feel free to use that. In terms of how do you kind of integrate this? So assignment makeover is just another term for how do you revise your assignment so that it's able to adjust to what the policy you have adopted. So for example, if you say, you know what, I'm just not ready to entertain AI in my class, what you're going to do is in one of the documents here, you will look through and say, okay, if I'm not going to allow AI to be used, I'm going to make these changes so that it prevents students from using it because of the way you situated your prompt, so that it's not easy to get AI to answer. So like a quick example of this is you make something local or something recent, ask them, because a lot of like I said, the GPT has data up to end of 2021. You can just ask something about what happened last week. It's not going to have, AI is not going to be able to answer that because it hasn't been trained on last week's event. Or if you ask the student to do something personal reflection, like what do you think about, give your life story about this. And yes, they can have AI generate their life story, but that just takes a lot more work and a lot more time than just telling their life story and describing what it may or may not, how it relates to assignment. So, and then the same with limited use and so on. So the idea is, based on the position you take on the use of AI in your classroom, you will then modify your assignments accordingly so that you can, take advantage of the different kind of levels. These are just various strategies. I'm not going to go into this right now because I don't want to take up more time. And then just a quick example. So I teach for doctoral higher ed. This one was the one I taught last summer. And this here was sort of one of the signature assignments that the class has to do. Like, these are future higher ed administrators. They want to be, vice president, presidents, and so on. And one of the things I want them to do is how do I help them understand the field of higher ed? And so I typically would assign a report that I go out there and explore and talk to people and do that. That's fine, but nowadays what I'm going to do is I modify that so that I'm asking them to use a tool to help them surface the trends, things that they probably won't do as well, because individually, you're limited to what you know. And so when you're trying to understand the trends in higher ed, you're only going to go to places or think about things or heard about. But if you ask the GPT, it will then be able to give you a lot more. And then you then take that list and again, you sort of interrogate the results and then you supplement it. And then in step 2, you use AI to then understand the rationale behind these trends. And then finally, you use the AI to then help them generate the report and then do the image. And so I'm trying to really thoroughly use it, because that my position is I'm allowed to be used, but in a very strategic and intentional way, so that they're able to both leverage their own intelligence as well as the AI. So let me, I guess I'll stop here for a second, and then let's see here. All right, so we've kind of thrown a lot at you, and then we're gonna have the next part. I think Tim is gonna give some demos in about 15, 20 minutes or so. Any questions before we go into the demo? Yes, BJ.
So what I detected was AI in an asynchronous online class on the discussion forums where students are just simply to talk to one another. So there's really nothing that I can find that actually detects AI before it can be detected on a forum. And and I asked the student, she denied it. Is there a way that I could cut and paste what she wrote and put it back into an AI and say, hey, has this gone before or something, and be able to detect it that way?
Yes, there are these detector tools. So the two that I always remember is one is GPT-0, like you spell it out, Z-E-R-O, and then there's Zero GPT. There are two different tools, but it's just they flipped. One is there's more ads coming out at you than the other, so they're all both are free. But here's the thing about these AI detection tool, maybe we can talk about later, is it's not fully reliable, meaning it can say it flags it, but then it's like sometimes if a student uses Grammarly or Quillbot, like one of the tools that Tim's going to demonstrate, it actually will flag that because those writing assistant tools are AI generated. And so if they're using that to help them with their writing, it's going to pick up as AI writing, which is, I mean, it's like, well, how is that legitimate? Like, can a student use the AI like Grammarly to help them with their grammar and spelling and punctuation? And then when they use it, it's going to start picking up and say, oh, it's AI writing because they've adopted majority of the suggestions that the Grammarly suggested. So
yeah, well, this one looked exactly like a ChatGPT. It had like around 9 different points, highlighted the beginning of each of them, and then a little summary at the end. It was kind of like,
Yeah. It's also challenging, I think, because a lot of students are English as a second language, especially first-gen students. And so a lot of them, so in terms of, AI use and some of the structure is kind of challenging because it may get picked up and that may not in fact be accurate because of some of those issues, as far as I understand.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I will, when Tim starts, I will put some links in the chat for you, BJ, to look at some external detectors that are available. Again, you have to use it with caution because it just, I'd say have that policy in place, have a very robust discussion with your students, and then talk about like the only person you're really cheating here is yourself. I mean, like any other way to outsource your learning, it's just not going to benefit you as a learner. And why are you paying all this money to not learn anything and use this machine to do the work for yourself? So go ahead, Tim, if you want to share your screen.
Definitely. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate a few tools. I'm going to demonstrate the tools that Mike just talked about, some spell check, writing detection, as well as writing suggestion tools. But I want to start off with kind of the flashy, cool stuff at the beginning here. So this tool is called Gamma. And here, let me, to remind everybody, if you want to follow along with the links, Mike will share them, but they're also available in our document. So some of the apps that I'll be talking about are available here in our document, and you can follow along as well as I go on here and, try it yourself, like we did with ChatGPT last time. I am signing into my apu.edu Gmails with all these accounts to be able to track what I'm creating, as well as to be able to log in and use them. They all require me to log in. So I've done a few steps of logging in. I've created my account with my APU email. When you first open up Gamma here, it will show you the home page and 3 options you want to create. So Gamma isn't just bound to presentations. I'm going to demonstrate it creating a slideshow here, but you can also create websites and documents with it. Another tool that goes along with Gamma, it is also linked in our resources, is the desktop. This one's a little bit harder to say.
Dectopus.
Dectopus. Again, it's app.dectopus.com. I've signed into this, so initially when you get onto their website, it looks a little bit different, but I have signed in. The main difference I've seen between Gamma and Dectopus is kind of the suggestions they made. And again, this is based on prompt generation. So I had a simple idea, and I'm going to even take the prompt that Dectopus is suggesting and put it into Gamma, because I like the way Gamma works a little bit better. But they all have the ability to kind of refine your prompt, suggest things. A lot of times they will, when you open up Gamma here and click for the first time, it'll make some suggestions, some simple suggestions. If you start typing something, it will also kind of refine your suggestions. But I'm going to copy in what I have. Oops. And then I'm going to push the create button here in Dectopus. One sec here. Got all these windows open.
We still see Gamma, just for your information, but maybe that's what you.
Sorry, I said the wrong. So I've added my prompt into Gamma. I clicked enter, and it starts to it's reading my prompt, and then it kind of creates an outline of my prompt. I've asked it to create instruction for Canvas about a new quizzing tool. I found a little bit of a deeper prompt by using Dectopus. Again, that's kind of what I was trying to demonstrate there. Rather than kind of this full prompt of a presentation on the new Canvas quizzes tool, I'm using something like ChatGPT or Dectopus to create those prompts. Once I enter them, the outline is created, and I'm going to go ahead and use my 40 credits here and click continue.
Hey, Tim, your audio is breaking up. I don't know if it's the AirPod losing power or it's.
All right, hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better.
Much better. Yep.
So you can see as Gamma has created an outline for me. The audio delay may be due to the fact that I'm trying to generate and use the internet right here. Yeah, it looks like as I'm trying to do Zoom. So here, let me. I'm gonna just kind of do the fast forward here. Hopefully my audio is a little bit better now.
Yeah, it's fine. Your audio is fine.
So my computer was doing a lot of processing power on Gamma. You stay on that page, and it shows the slides being created slide by slide. It'll go down. It'll start kind of like ChatGPT does. It'll start typing these slides out. For this one, it created about. Again, I was hoping to show you the magic, but again, My computer was having some problems, but the outline originally had these titles of how to use and implement new quizzes in Canvas, the features and benefits of new quizzes. Each of these titles was a different outline bullet point in Gamma, and then Gamma began to artificially create images, different titles. When it created this one, literally, it created a table. It created 4 titles based on the different the introduction and overview of the new quizzing tool, and then created pictures alongside. Some of you may use this. I encourage you to try this tool in the time after this, or even during our breakout sessions. But it's really incredible. It's kind of that first, when you use ChatGPT and first get at it, it creates something out of nothing. And it also has the ability, I'll click the tour here. It has the ability to go through and edit. You can, sorry, let me close a few more things here. You can add things. If you feel like the slide is blank, I can remove the image or change it using AI. So it's not just kind of a plug and play and go. The other tool I wanted to talk about is the kind of spelling suggestions. This is when spell check first came around. Is something that we've all used for a very long time, especially within Microsoft Office and within our Google Docs. But within the last, I would say probably 5 years, I've been using a tool called Grammarly. I'm sure some of you have used Grammarly, or even suggested if you have your students taking writing courses, they probably have come across Grammarly. And what Grammarly is, my Grammarly is kind of living in the bottom section over here, is it's a spelling suggestion tool. So as I hover over my line here, it's suggesting that I take out the dashes in here. Anytime that I have 2 tools on turned on here, but anytime I have a spelling suggestion, it's gonna give me a suggestion. But Grammarly and this other tool I'm using called Quillbot, these both do the same function. They both do spell checking, writing suggestions, as well as they do some generative AI. So I just clicked within Grammarly when I hover over it. If you're using an old version, just a quick tech tip, if you're using an old version of Grammarly, it took me, I had to kind of make sure I signed into Grammarly and got Grammarly Go. Grammarly Go is kind of the suggestion AI part of Grammarly. When I click on Grammarly Go, you can see it kind of does a lot of the same things that I was kind of doing with the presentation. I could pick out my main points of this article. I could get ideas for improvement. There's a lot of ideas or things I could search for. I could use this just like ChatGPT. I could ask it a question or ask it to create 5 bullets on a certain topic. You can see it allows me to prompt it 100 times. Something a little bit different about Grammarly, and one of the things that I use, especially when I'm writing a response to a faculty member or a student, is I want my tone to come off. And if you use Grammarly, you've kind of seen these little icons that come up. And you can use this the same with the AI tool. So if I want to feel, if I want my the writing that the AI is doing to come off direct or personable or engaging, I can use those different types of tones and voices. It doesn't look like I changed it there. Maybe I need to take confident out. But I can change those the way that Grammarly writes what I have. The other tool is a tool called Quillbot. Again, these are just 2 tools doing the same thing. You can see Quillbot had a few more suggestions than Grammarly here. It looks like Grammarly had 4 or 5 suggestions for spelling or writing fixes where
Quillbot has 8. The thing I like about Quillbot is when I'm writing things, it'll put a little dot next to the things that I've done well, and it feels like are written well. And that's just visually, that's a good indicator. But I've been using Grammarly for a much longer time. So I encourage you guys to download Grammarly. Grammarly is an extension that I have turned on in Chrome. Quillbot is also an extension that I've turned on in Chrome. They should work across Google Drive within a lot of the, I find it in my email. I find it when I'm writing things within my internet browser, as well as I encourage you guys to use Gamma and create your first AI online presentation.
All right, thank you, Tim. So let me, in the last 5 minutes, I'm going to try to, I'll go over this last tool that I've been playing with called Quizbot. Let me first go to that screen. Okay, so here, so the Quizbot is, I think I'll put this link in the chat. Quizbot is an amazing tool. You can generate quizzes based on a file you have, based on a link to a website, based on the topic of the question. I mean, you can even use a video, upload a video, or connect to a video, and it will generate questions out of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and go find an article. So this is a Chronicle Higher Education article about the subject was GPT and how it will sort of change teaching. So I'm just going to copy that URL, and then I'm going to go to my bot. So I'm going to create questions from a link. That's the option I want to choose. And then I will then paste that link here. And then here are some of the options. So I can, I'm only going to generate 3 questions. I don't need 20. I'm going to do it at the university level. And then I will do it above average, or maybe I'll make I'll make it average, and then English and version. So what I'm going to do is just click generate. What it's going to do now, it's going to go out, read the article, and it's going to come back and it's going to develop that question, that multiple choice question. I don't know if you saw that. That was like literally seconds, copy and paste. You can upload an article that you assigned, and it can do the same thing. Say, give me 5 questions, and it doesn't have to be multiple choice. You can also have options. Let me go back to my totally out of screen space there. I'm gonna go back to the dashboard. You can see there's open-ended questions you can generate. There's true, false. There's fill in the blanks. I mean, so it's not just multiple choice. You can have many kinds of question, like quizzes. You can have like matching. You can have at different levels of bloom. I mean, it's just amazing how many options you can have. So again, very robust tool. Like that's just one part of their tool set. I mean, they also have like a tutor and an image and text. I mean, there's lots of, all these tools sometimes try to be everything, all things to all people. And so I think sometimes that's a bad strategy on the company part. But so let's take a 5-minute break, and then once you come back, we'll give instructions for the breakout session for you to try some of this on your own. Okay, so it's 10:58, so let's come back at 11:03. Okay, 11:03. I'll put a little thing, and then take a break, and then we'll reconvene at 11:03.
Sorry, Mike, can I just ask a quick question?
Yes,
I was going to experiment with a video that in terms of developing a quiz, and I'm on Quizbot, and I didn't see when I went there, it seems sort of stupid. I agree, I think, but I didn't see where to upload the link for the video, even though I clicked on it says create questions from video, but I didn't see a place where to upload the video link. So anyway, just a question.
That is a good question. Oh yes, that's a YouTube link. It's like 3 boxes down from the how many questions. Do you see that? Here.
Is this how many questions?
Got
Oh,
this.
YouTube. Oh, there.
There it is.
Yeah, I got it. Okay,
Yep.
and then I could say generate from
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Please fill out this field. How many questions? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure yeah, it's you just have to make sure all the required fields are filled out, and then it'll do the thing. So yeah. All right.
Great question. Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. Yeah. Think that we'll see.
Yeah.
how that
The-
goes.
If you start thinking about sort of the potential time saving for this, I mean, I know that some departments are very heavy in quizzing, and you can basically, if you have a paid account, I mean, I'm already using, it's like it gives you a 1,000-word limit for the free account before it starts, like meaning how many words it generates is how it counts against your credit. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
I uploaded this particular link, but it used entirely the wrong thing. So
Yeah.
Huh.
But-
That's interesting. I mean,
But the paid version, yeah, if you have the paid version, then you can experiment more. But with the free version, you have to be careful before you use up all the credit. So
Yeah, no, I just was saying it didn't utilize the correct link. I don't know why. Interesting. Because it's in here. So let me see if it's using it this time. No, it's not using the correct link. I've done it twice now. Interesting. It's an 8-minute video about the 4 amps, and it's not using the correct information at all. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to probably troubleshoot there, Lynn.
Anyway, that's okay. I was just experimenting a little. We can do another time, but I'm curious. I've tried it twice now. Hasn't used the right one at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna have to leave.
A lot of these
Yeah.
tools are still new, so there are probably a lot of kinks to them and little problems.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So you always interrogate what you get from the bot. So not just wholesale accepted. So, all right. Well, thanks, Lynn, for being here today. I know you have to.
Well, I appreciate your taking my questions and things. Thank you so much, as we're all learning.
Yes. Yes. Hey, Tim, do you have a subscription to Quillbot or Grammarly? I don't know if you. I'm just asking.
No,
You don't,
I had
okay.
Grammarly for a while, but I don't think
Okay.
I have it anymore.
Yeah, I last week I finally bit the bullet. I was gonna I got Quillbot annual plan, and then I started using it. I was like, but then it didn't work as well with Word. And then because I give you a 3-day free trial, and then I canceled, and then I got the Grammarly, which I'm happy with.
Yeah.
But Quillbot is a lot more, I would say it's newer, so it's not as well integrated with like Microsoft Word, which is what I was trying to use it for, because I'm working on a fairly extensive report right now, and I'm an editor on that, and it just manually having to go through over 100 pages editing was a little overwhelming.
I had tried both of them in Office 365 earlier this morning. Quillbot it said it gave me a few workarounds. It's like if you put the document in this read-only mode and you do these things, but it didn't work as nicely as I'd liked it to. But Grammarly was like, no, Grammarly didn't want to work there either. It's
the Quillbot you have to highlight the area because it's over 100 page, the document, it can't read the whole thing, so you have to highlight one section at a time, which is anyways.
You have to make it read for you.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, oh, this is not working. So
I have some breakout rooms set up.
Okay, perfect.
And ready to go.
How many do we have? How many breakout rooms, or how many people?
There's 11 participants now, so I was going to do 3 breakout rooms with 3 to 4, 2 rooms of 4 and 1 room of 3. I think with who left, but because I think.
Can you maybe do? Let's limit no more than 3 a room, because I think more than 3 it may be too hard for the interaction. So. So yeah, maybe increase that by 1. Yeah, that Quizbot I was playing with last night was pretty, like, I was like having a ball. It was so, yeah, I was just like, no, it tickled me. I was like, whoa, it can do that. And it was able to grab web pages and content and, do different things with it. So
That's really cool. I'm sure there's way, even with like the new quizzes tool, that you kind of be able to take that, the export that it gives you, and
yeah,
not do much copy and pasting, just kind of get it into Canvas. I'll have to
yeah,
experiment with that.
yeah. Okay, I think- all right, let's see. Is everybody? Oh, no, they're not back. Um, Okay, well, so maybe, for those who are back, we can kind of get you started and give you more time, and then the rest can kind of dawdle in. So in our breakout session today, we want to kind of give you an opportunity to practice some of the things with the tools that we have, what we introduced today, or you can use other ones. But the idea is you get real kind of hands-on experience with some of your colleagues. You can talk about sort of AI option use if that's something that maybe you want to decide as a group. Maybe that's the first decision as a group. Like, what do you want to do together so that you can collaboratively do it together as opposed to individually. You can talk about AI use option discussion, kind of course implication, or you can talk about assignment makeover, or you can use, I didn't finish writing out, Gamma or Dectopus, Quillbot and Quizbot. So those are kind of options you can do in your breakout group. So, so Tim have you enabled the breakout rooms?
No, I haven't opened them yet.
Yeah, maybe if you can open it up and then assign those who are here to the first, group.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms. There was a few users who dropped out right there at the.
Yeah. Let's see, what happened.
I have 3 rooms, and they each have 3 users in them now.
Okay. All right.
And I tried to put people who like had their video on and were participating at least in each one of the rooms. So.
Yeah. Okay. You want to roam the rooms, or you want to stay?
I'll go into room 2 if you want to go into room 1.
Okay, I'll do that. Let me resume
We're
recording
all
here.
back here.
All right. Well, I hope it was a good time within your group to kind of talk about some of these tools and some of the tasks that you might want to do. So let's, if you can, in the chat, take maybe 30 seconds and put down personal follow-up things you will do after today's session. Like, what's 1 or 2 things you will do, like a follow-up on your own, like whether it's researching a tool particular, like, researching or using a tool, or thinking about your syllabus or the AI, classroom use part, or whatever. So I just, I think want to give everybody a chance to kind of reflect on 1 or 2 things you want to pursue after this session. All right. And then, and then HECOP added Slides GPT, which is a different AI presentation tool. So if you don't like Gamma, or if you want to see another tool besides Gamma and Doctopus, there's also Slide GPT. He added that in the chat, so you can also explore that tool. So, all right, BJ researching Zero GPT. Let's see, Christina, reevaluate and test out key assignments. Okay, Brianna, Gamma, and Jeanette, intersyllabus. Yes, that's a very important thing you can do, Jeanette. AI use policy is critical. Lisa, Gamma, Janet, Quiz, Rick, Quizbot. Okay, and then, okay, well, thank you. Yeah, that's helpful. Whew, that's a lot of stuff we just covered today. Feels like every session is like a fire hose.
Exactly.
I'm working on the next session, which is in 2 weeks, about research, and I've been having a boatload of fun. I can't wait to share some of the things I've learned about research bots, and it's blowing my mind, and I hope it will blow your mind. So I will go ahead and formally stop the recording, and we'll end a little early.